Good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. It is 10 a.m. We welcome you to the 2021 State ACSA Vice President for Legislative Action Candidate Town Hall. I'm Najala Khan. Over the next hour, we will introduce you to the 4 candidates who are running for this very important statewide position. We will also have the opportunity to have questions that come in from our viewing audience. For those of you watching us right now, we do have a chat. And if you do have any questions for our 4 candidates, go ahead and submit those. And time permitting, we will get to those questions later on in the show. Before we bring on our 4 candidates and roll into the question and answer session, I do want to tell you about how our town hall is going to work. Now, we have 4 questions for the candidates. Each candidate will have a maximum of 2 minutes to respond to those questions, and we'll go in alphabetical order, which will allow each candidate to answer one of the 4 questions first, and then we will continue with the other candidates after that. Again, if we have any questions that come in from our viewing audience, again, we will go in alphabetical order with a maximum 2-minute response. And at the close of our broadcast today, each candidate will have a maximum of 2 minutes for a closing statement. Let's go ahead and bring in our 4 candidates for the State Vice President for Legislative Action position. This is a position that will be voted on by the Leadership Assembly in May. Jonathon Brunson is the Assistant Superintendent for Human Relations at Milpitas Unified School District. Daniel Hernandez, the principal from Ethel Phillips Elementary School in the Sacramento City Unified School District. Barbara Martinez, principal and director from the Pacific Grove Unified School District, and Gina Potter, superintendent from San Ysidro School District. For our 4 candidates, thank you so much for being with us today and for your commitment to ACSA in this very important position. Jonathon, we'll have you start and we'll run right into this first question. And then again, 2 minutes response from each of you. Post-pandemic, what do you see are the key issues in service of students, and how do you think ACSA can be involved in supporting the students? Jonathon, your 2-minute response.
Good day, everybody. My name is Jonathon Brunson, and I just want to start by acknowledging that this has been a really difficult year with COVID and the pandemic. And also, I just want to honor our ACSA family who has been there to support us throughout this time. We have gained so much during this time, and I think we need to focus on the positives. We're better now with technology, and we're better at serving our students. And students are actually having better access to technology than ever before. Now, is there room for growth? You bet. Someone once told me that, show me your budget and I will show you what you value. And I believe ACSA is at the forefront of working at the state capitol to ensure that we get everything that we need for our students and for our leaders, so our teachers can do outstanding work. I truly believe that, and I'm grateful for AB 86 and that one-time funding that we have. It's going to allow us to do an amazing amount of work to hopefully close that opportunity gap from distance learning to in-person learning. And I know each of us wants to do the very best that we can. We are about our student success. We care about the equity. And it's not just about what happens in Milpitas. In running for this position, it matters what happens for all 6 million students in our state of California. So having local control is going to allow us to do great things, and then have these opportunities for professional development, continued funding for our students, and the PD that needs to go with that for our staff and our leaders. And we also want to ensure that the safety of our facilities are there and in front of us, so that our kids and our families feel safe coming to school. And then special ed, we struggled so much to get what our students needed. And we all know that in-person is the way to go. But thank God for the vaccine, and we're seeing schools open up, and we're seeing the joy and the love of learning happening again. And I'm looking forward to extend what we've learned. And so we will, I think what we should do too is find the best models that have been out there for distance learning, because I think that's an ongoing model that's going to happen in our state, maybe replace independent study. Let's look at the data and show where our student gaps are so that we can fulfill those needs for our students. Look for equity in everything that we do, and then let's refine our approaches. Let's survey our staff, let's survey our students to ensure that they have all the resources necessary. And let's push technology into the hands of everybody so that there's never an excuse for not being able to have access. And the last I'll end with this is our students' emotional and wellness and well-being needs to be taken care of. And I think we need to look at ways to support our students in that manner, as well as our adults, because it's been a challenging year. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Daniel Hernandez, your response.
Yes, good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited about this opportunity to speak to everyone. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that yesterday was a historic day with the decision to find Devin Chauvin guilty on all counts. I think it's very important for us to mention that as we talk about what our students' needs are. Being in the pandemic situation, quarantine, schools closed, it's really vital, and I talked to my staff very early on about this, that we understand that students and families who have trauma in their lives, have experienced trauma, will have continued to experience and possibly even more severe experiences of trauma. And one of the biggest things I think that we've heard from all of our gatherings with staff, and whether it was informally or formally, that our students need to have the mental health support along with our families. And it's vital that we understand what's going on in our communities, but also in our families' situations and our students' lives. The schools should be a safe place where we can build relationships and we can continue to support our students in the academics. And we know that many times we can't even begin to address the academics if we haven't begun to support students at where they are and what their needs are, whether it's fundamental basic needs or beyond. And we have students who are thriving in this situation. So how do we really support that component, and how do we really strategize to make sure that we can support every student at where they are? It's being creative. I think Jonathon mentioned something to the effect that we need to share best practices, and the best way to do that is to continue to get together, share our stories, share our ideas, share what's working, and honestly what sometimes isn't working. We've been blessed the last 3 weeks here at my school that we've been able to bring back our students. We've had 4 first days of school, and it's been exciting every day. The new faces, honestly, it's the face mask that we're looking at. So kids who show up with the face mask that has a smile on it really warms our day up. And really, now that we're looking forward into what our key issues are, besides and in addition to the mental health side of it, it's making sure that we can get caught up on the academic and all these other needs that are going to be coming to the forefront. And our staff is going to also have to deal with the secondary trauma as well. So thank you so much.
Barbara, your 2-minute response.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Glad to be here today. So I see this as a priority list moving forward. And I would note that after speaking with colleagues in the field, that these issues are the ones that have surfaced. Funding is number one, to ensure that our students and educators have the resources necessary to address the following key issues. One is learning recovery and mitigation strategies. Social emotional learning and mental health and wellness is far at the top of the list. Equity, connectivity, tools, curriculum, and the requirements for graduation. Distance learning being an option moving forward, we need metrics on attendance, graduation requirements, transportation, and extended day year. We know that Assembly Bill 104 passed the Assembly floor and is sitting on the Senate, and we have questions, right? We have questions upon retention, graduation requirements, and others. We need to improve the pipeline for new educators and administrators. Now more than ever, we need to address this alarming issue to bolster our cadre of new professionals into public school education. We need to embrace this new normal, advancing upon our learning to further the profession to reach all students. When the pandemic hit, ACSA acted with rapid response to this pandemic to provide the resources and tools and support necessary for our site leaders and students. They responded with technology, bandwidth, cell support, COVID safety protocols. ACSA held weekly superintendent meetings. They kept their districts connected with a common purpose and common language and kept us all in direction. Bringing partners together to form the County Education Coalition and writing common letters to the governor's office explaining the importance of our position as experts in the field. And Governor Newsom even quoted it and said, "Demand more from me and others because our children deserve it." Completely agree. So we need to be at the table, and we have a voice at that table. Thank you to Wes and the GR team. Letters are good, but we must build upon the action that was prevalent during the pandemic by ACSA. Thank you, everybody.
And Gina Potter.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here today. With regards to supporting students post-COVID, I hope to restore the joy of learning and the joy of school back to our students. I hope to take the time to listen to our students and to ask them what they think they need. I also hope to care for the social emotional health of our students with a focus on the California Department of Education's research-based systems of support through restorative practices, with our response to intervention social emotional component of our multi-tiered systems of support. It will be important also to partner with our County Health and Human Services Division to provide in-school support services with social workers and psychologists, with auxiliary services, and to provide COVID trauma support services to our schools and to our communities. Finally, on the legislative front, there are a few mental health proposed bills ACSA is watching and supporting to see if these may provide in-school social emotional support and resources for our students in the coming year. I'm excited to work with ACSA to bring the twinkle and joy of learning back to our students after this very difficult year. Thank you, Naj.
And thanks to our 4 candidates, and also want to remind those of you who are watching, you can go ahead and submit questions onto our chat, and time permitting, we'll get to those questions. Second question, and Daniel Hernandez will be the first to respond. Student and education leader advocacy, incredibly important, and we've seen examples time and time again this year. If elected, your role will serve in creating legislative priorities and empowering members to have substantive discussions with key decision makers. How can we expand that role and continue to push ACSA as the leader in student and educator advocacy? If I am correct here, it looks like Daniel's signal has dropped out for a moment. So let me go ahead and move to Barbara Martinez for a response to that. And hopefully we're able to get Daniel back on camera. Barbara, let me go ahead and have you respond to that question first.
Absolutely. So I think the most important role that the state VPLA has to connect with region VPLAs on a regular basis. It can't just be a once a month meeting, just like the superintendents in this pandemic had meetings weekly. I think it's important that we communicate with our region VPLAs often and on a regular basis, deploying a listen, engage, and act mantra on behalf of our colleagues across all regions. Regions communicating their issues and priorities with the state VPLA, and then communicating these issues with the GR staff and state board of directors. The VPLA should attend the LPC committee meetings to remain current on all pieces of legislation that we're either supporting, opposing, or with amendment. So it's actually staying current with what's happening on the forefront with pieces of legislation. And it's also communicating back and forth, making sure that the line of communication is open, that the state VPLA is receptive to the region VPLAs and responds in a quick and fair manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Still working to get Daniel Hernandez from Sac City Unified back onto our platform here, but let's go ahead and move to Gina Potter with your response. Gina, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Naj. As the chair of ACSA State Legislative Policy Committee, I am proud of the role our committee plays in developing the legislative platform, establishing advocacy priorities, and this year in underscoring the heroic efforts to respond to the COVID pandemic, which fundamentally impacted our nation's educational system. It has been an honor to serve as ACSA's lead for several years now in facilitating the annual creation and review of our organization's One Voice legislative platform. Our LEG platform has a strategic plan which directs ACSA to shape policy, to focus on the diverse needs of our students, and to serve as the authoritative voice within education at the state level. The platform has 3 guiding principles that were designed by hundreds of ACSA members giving their input through surveys. Those guiding principles are student success, equity, and local control. And the 8 priority areas are prioritizing the reopening of our schools, equity, mental health, accountability, educator development, school funding, school facilities and safety, and special education. Thanks to Wes, Edgar, and our GR and communications team, this year more than ever, ACSA has earned the reputation in our capital as the lead advocacy voice in education. And it has been an honor to serve ACSA for the last 20 years as a member who was a strong educational legislative advocate in both Sacramento and Washington, D.C. Working for many years alongside our state ACSA GR team, I've helped in advocacy meetings with federal congressional leaders, state senators and assembly members, the governor's office, the Department of Finance, and the legislative analyst's office. I'm excited to lead ACSA as the VPLA in valiantly advocating alongside our ACSA members and students from the California Association of Student Council, student representatives, for the highest quality education, equity, and student success for the 6.1 million students that California serves. Thank you, Nash.
Thank you, Gina. Let's go ahead and have Jonathon Brunson. Jonathon, your 2-minute response.
Great answers and responses by my colleagues. So I think having calendar dates, like Barbara was mentioning, that we just don't have Ledge Action Day. I think we need to calendar. What if it was something to the effect like the first Tuesday of each month, we sit down with our local representatives and bring to the table the current issues that we're facing. Every year we tell our stories, but it shouldn't be just one day. It should be monthly. And if they're calendared, and we can use the technology of Zoom, so we can just be right in their offices and we can stay in our place so we can serve our students and our school district. So I think having that put together would help us when it does come time to Ledge Action Day. We've already formed relationships, because that's what it's all about, right? Forming relationships. And the purpose is to meet our students' needs up and down the state. I also believe that we should think about having students be a part of our discussions and actually be a voice when we meet with our local representatives. In each of our school districts up around the state, we have we have just amazing students. And it's really difficult to look at a student when they tell you these are things that I appreciate or things that I still need to help me in my learning. And so I would like to push ACSA to have students have a voice, and not just our voice, but listen to our students. And I'm not even thinking about high school kids. I'm thinking about middle school, elementary. It's just fascinating to see how well spoken our students are and how they touch your heart. And it also reminds us what's really important at the end of the day. So when we share their stories and their successes like we do Every Student Succeeding, I think we'll be able to touch the hearts of our leaders, because it's not good enough that we get Prop 98 funding. We want to expand that and be the #1 funded educational institution across this great nation of ours. We are getting kids ready, our students ready, to be the 4th generation in technology and services to reach around the world. Here in Santa Clara County, we are the hub of technology, and we have people from every nation in the world visiting us to learn more and more. And I think we need to look at those folks as partners in supporting our students. And I'll end, again, back with the social emotional well-being of our students. We really need to put funding and support and care into that, because we live in a world where things are happening so fast, and our children, our students, and our adults need that support. And what that could look like, well, let's ask them. Let's ask our teachers. Let's ask our parents. Let's ask our students, so that we can bring that to the table in those monthly meetings and on Ledge Action Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathon, so much for that. I see that we have Daniel Hernandez back. Daniel, let me go ahead as you're working through your technology. Let me go ahead and restate the question for you, and then give you an opportunity to respond. Student and education leader advocacy, incredibly important. And we've seen examples of that time and time again this year. If elected, your role will serve in creating legislative priorities and empowering members to have substantive discussions with key decision makers. How can we expand that role and continue to push ACSA as the leader in student and educator advocacy? Daniel, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. The first thing I want to advocate for is better internet in my office. It happens way too often. But I wanted to just add, I think I was able to hear most of what the other candidates were sharing. And the big thing, I think, is we need to be able to listen to our ACSA members, because our ACSA members are in the field. They can see what's happening. They can tell the stories. And then how can we take those stories in one of those I heard some examples of getting our staff together, our ACSA members together, to be able to share that with our legislators. We need to make sure that all of our ACSA members are educated in what it means to actually speak to our legislation or speak to our legislators. Those legislators are the ones that are going to take those stories and try to create laws out of them. I know there's a law going, or a bill being passed right now, or being discussed right now, that's pushing for parents to request retention during COVID. ACSA needs to be at the table, and it sounds like the Government Relations Office is right there at the forefront. We need to become the resource, like the exclusive resource, or not exclusive, but the first resource that legislators go to with the change of legislators because of term limits, because of elections, all that. We need to make sure that the staff and the historic people in the building know that they need to come to ACSA as a trusted, well-knowledged, statewide entity that can speak on behalf of ultimately our students, which is what is important. I remember speaking to Tony Thurman before he became, direct head of public instruction, and I was telling him a story about one of my students who had lost a home, was making it to school, and yet when they were at school, still needed more support. And he was surprised for some reason that we could actually recite the names of students practically and tell the stories of our students and our community in such a quick fashion. And I hope that story informed him to make more decisions on behalf of our students, in particular mental health, in particular housing, and how we can deal with instruction once we get to that safe space, and how we have to push other students to be college and career ready, because we need to make sure that we're not allowing students, for example, to just settle with walking out the doors of high school. They need to be ready to take on the best options out there. So I thank you for your time on this. I really think that our ACSA members need to know our legislators and need to know the stories. And that's one thing that I would really hope that we continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Let's move to question number 3. Barbara Martinez, you will be the first to respond to this question. Last week, we had more than 600 members participate in the 2021 ACSA Legislative Action Day. It was the highest level of participation that we have seen in years. How do you plan to keep that momentum moving forward? Again, Barbara Martinez will be the first to respond for 2 minutes.
So, wow, 600 members participating for the first time virtually. That's like that's unprecedented even in itself, and quite a success story. Where else can you have most regions bringing over 40 attendees to rally, to advocate on behalf of our students in public education? We even had one region bring over 77 members to the room. And when our faces hit the screen with our legislators, they saw who we were. We weren't just 8 people in a room representing a region. We were 77 people in a room representing a region, and they may not have all spoken, but their face said volumes, right? So I would continue to have Legislative Action Day virtually. It's working. It's working for us. But it's not a one day hit wonder, right? It's bringing small groups to the Capitol throughout the year to advocate, to speak at appropriation committee meetings, to be a presence. Continue grassroots advocacy at the local level. How? Inviting your legislators to your school district for celebrations, Students of the Month, to walk your campuses firsthand, to see the challenges, to have those discussions at your regions, inviting them to your regions. So it's at the district level, it's at the site level, it's at the region level. Our legislators need to know your name. And I tell you, at this Legislative Virtual Action Day, our legislators did know our names. They know who we are. We had candid conversations. We need to plan for legislative forums at ACSA regional conferences, like the Northern Section Conference and the Mid-State Conference, where we had a legislative forum, where we invited all of our legislators from this district, and we had 4 regions coming together before Leg Action Day to preempt it. We need to invite our legislators to our schools and conferences and to social media platforms like the legislative lunch breaks and campus tours. It's really great when we see our governor and our SPI attending superintendents conferences and speaking directly with us. We have a seat at the table. And Wes said it perfectly when he said we can either influence policy or we can be bound by it. And let's make sure that we're influencers. Thank you.
Gina Potter, your 2-minute response.
Thank you, Naj. I'm so proud of the incredible success ACSA's governmental relations team and our current VPLA, Barbara Martinez, had with this year's Ledge Action Day last week. During Ledge Action Day, it was evident that our state leaders are keenly listening to our ACSA members' advice regarding how to navigate the pandemic for schools. It was a pleasure to serve alongside a few of our ACSA members during Ledge Action Day to speak with key staff from both the Assembly Education Committee and the Department of Finance, and to share ACSA's priorities for a full return to in-person school instruction in the fall, with the need for urgent legislative clarity, to allow the use of local assessments, and to express fiscal challenges that loom ahead, and to seek long-term fiscal stability and prioritization of our state's education system. With the focus of keeping the momentum of Ledge Action Day alive, I would work to survey our members and listen to their ideas, and to collaboratively work with ACSA's GR team to create a strategic plan for Ledge Action Day. My vision, or what I envision for Ledge Action efforts, is to expand it to a 3-day advocacy effort that spreads over the course of the entire school year, with day 1 being prior to winter break or in the November-December period, where we could include the coordination of legislative advocacy in-person meetings at every one of our local regional levels. Day 2 being in February or March, that would spotlight virtual speaking opportunities from key state representatives to all ACSA members, from the governor's office, CDE, the Department of Finance, and the Assembly and Senate Education Committees. And finally, day 3, continue the momentum of the virtual advocacy appointments with Sacramento legislative representatives, so that all ACSA members can continue to participate in Ledge Action Day. Thank you.
Jonathon, your 2-minute response.
Thank you. I think getting in the room with our leaders via Zoom was a fantastic opportunity. I mean, we were this close to their faces, and even though it was virtual, it felt as if we were in a room together. And I know nothing beats in person itself, but I think it's a way that we can tap into those monthly calendared meetings that I've been talking about, because then people can still be in their office and get their work done, but at least have that quality time that allows us to really share our successes. And I think they need to hear that. We should not come in ever as whiners and we need more. We are a positive, energetic, dynamic, driving force for education. And I think they need to see that passion coming from us, because that's what we are all about. And then bring our students along for the ride. Have them come into those rooms together with us, not just on those monthly meetings, but at Ledge Action Day itself. I think that would be such a wonderful opportunity for our students to have that experience, to say, I was at the Capitol, be it a Zoom meeting, or I was at our local representative's office today. And what a magical opportunity that would be. And I really do think it's hard to say no to kids. So when we help them with the language that they need, but I think when we listen to them, I think that's going to be the greatest thing. In-person advocacy, like I said, still has to continue. I would love to see us be able to be at the Capitol on the steps. I think it's powerful when we're there as a united front. The 600 people that showed up this year because of Zoom was amazing. Thank you, Barbara, and the Ledge team for putting that together. That was amazing. I do still think that one of the ideas I was thinking is we have to propose our calendars for every region on things that we're doing to the state. Well, why don't we have on that same proposal, these are the dates that we meet with our local leaders. Hold us accountable here in Region 8 and all of the 19 regions to have these meetings and this time together. And it's not just about the talk, it's about the action and the time that we spend. And again, it comes back to building those relationships so that when we come to Ledge Action Day, maybe we're on first name basis already and they remember that student voice. And then, constantly polling and surveying our members and our students to see what is it on top for you that we can do for you, because we are a service organization. And so by giving our students a voice, I think that there's nothing that we can't do here at ACSA for all of our students' needs, and that's TK all the way through adult ed.
Daniel.
Yeah, I think just thank you to everyone's responses. I think there's so many powerful things you've all shared. I would go as far as to add that we need to continue to have relevant updates from our tremendous and great GR staff to our members of ACSA, because if they know what's happening and they hear the legislation that's being proposed, or they know what's happening as we have been, if we continue to get those relevant updates, it's going to continue to remind our ACSA staff, our ACSA members, of the impact and the potential impact of our advocacy. This year is a great example. We need to continue to build relationships within ACSA, obviously. I think it's tremendous to have 600. That's such an amazing number. We have 18,000 members. We need to be able to connect and communicate with those 18,000 members in some way to get their input, to remind them that they can have an impact even by not attending Legislative Action Day, by continuing to build relationship with their legislators. For me, walking into a legislative office and having someone maybe not know my name, but look at me and say, "Hey, Mr. Principal, it's good to see you again." That tells me that they understand who we are and they understand what we stand for. And we've been in arenas together fighting for the same cause, which I hope all legislators are fighting for students as we are. And we need to have a constant feedback loop with legislators, to the GR staff, to our ACSA members, back to GR staff, and that's just a constant thing, so that we can really have that one voice that's developed and discussed and reviewed and constantly in work, or being changed, because that's what's happening in our educational system. It's in constant motion, especially this last year and a half. And I hope that we can continue to just expand not just our attendees for legislative action, but our impact for all the legislative action that happens across the state, whether it's something that's going to impact us locally or state or nationally, because I know that there's some advocacy that needs to continue at the national level. But I think it's also really important to know the timing of our Legislative Action Day. And I think our GR staff knows when things are being proposed and when things need to change, when they need to hear our voice the most. And that's going to be really vital to continue our success.
Thank you, Daniel. Also want to remind our viewers, if you do have any questions for our candidates, go ahead and put those into the chat. Joseph, we see your question. Time permitting, we will get to that. Let's move to question number 4. Gina Potter will be the first to respond to this question. 5 years from now, where's our organization, and how do you think your prospective position here in state ACSA leadership can move us in that direction? Gina, your 2-minute response.
Thank you. In 5 years from now, I see ACSA having the potential to double in size as an organization with over 30,000 educational administrators in California, and currently there are over 17,000 ACSA members. I'd like to support ACSA by establishing a cohesive and robust plan for local, state, and federal legislative advocacy efforts throughout the school year in all of our regions. And finally, ACSA is the premier statewide organization for administrators to lean on for professional development, with annual academies, mentoring workshops, and also the annual leadership summit. This allows for ACSA to be incorporated into administrative contracts within a professional development provision. So I hope to help our educational leaders statewide to gain ongoing access and affordable access to ACSA. Thank you.
Jonathon.
Caught me off guard. I'm ready though. So 5 years, I say this year coming. I really believe that we are a supercharged organization, that it's an association of people that are passionate about everything that it takes to make sure that our students get a world-class education. As an equity partner, as an ally, I think it's so important that we empower leaders to lead. We have not broken the ceiling in so many areas of leadership, but ACSA is pushing that. When I first joined this organization 20 some odd years ago, I mean, it was a lot of, I'll just say it, white Anglo men in the room. you look around the room now, look who's running for leadership on offices and everything. And it just excites me because our diversity is our strength. Our different folks that bring so many different things to the table, their heart and their passion is completely in it to win it. And we need to push the envelope to embed in our instruction the multi opportunities for our diversity and cultures to be seen and showcased around to our students so that they feel lifted up, so that they can continue the charge. So if we want to build something great, I think it starts with ourselves. I think it starts with you empowering others, pushing ACSA and its membership, like Gina said, about all the different operations that we provide and support people. And I think it will just allow us to be more diversified in leadership across the state. We'll have more women in leadership positions. We will be the speaking, instead of just to men at the legislature, we'll have more women in the legislature as leaders, because our students need to see themselves in those seats. And I feel that it's our obligation to push California to be world-class leaders in education, but also in how we take care of each other, how we treat people. Let's be the state that says to everybody, you matter, you make a difference, and we are here for you. I've always felt that you have to leave a place better than you found it. And I want to leave ACSA better than when I found it. And that's why I'm running. And we are getting better each day. And I just want to be part of the magic and the support and the service leadership at a state level that will hopefully motivate and inspire people and truly see everybody for who they are. And I'll tap into special education, which is near and dear to my heart. We need to get that fully funded, not just from here in the state, but from the feds, because it does encroach on our budgets. But our kids need to feel like they are in the room, fully included and part of the educational experience. And then moving all the way through adult ed, and I saw in the chat room somebody talking about CT. All of these things matter because we need to have systems in place where people have choices and feel that they have the opportunity to gain that experience so they can do amazing things. And I'll just close that, 2 weeks ago, I was asked to speak at a HR Academy, and it was just so much fun to listen and answer questions and see our association go stronger and when it comes into human resources. And so giving back is what ACSA is all about, and pushing us forward is going to be the thing that I'm most passionate about. Thank you.
Daniel.
Thank you. So thinking 5 years down the road, we've been working a lot on equity, being trained as ACSA staff, and I greatly appreciate that. I've been able to bring some of those things back, and now with the leadership under Adne, it's going to continue to grow, and I really think that that's going to be a huge part of what we do as ACSA. Specific to VPLA, I definitely think that we should become the single best resource for our legislators. They should think about education and immediately want to pick up the phone and contact someone from ACSA. That's because we have our kids in mind. We stand for kids. We staff our teachers and our other labor partners, and we're involved in the community, and we have thousands of members all across the state and all kinds of diverse communities and diverse student populations. Why not come to us first? I think that we're very much closer to that than we were even 5 years before. I think that's very much so on our leadership and our government relations office. And it's just a blessing to be part of this organization as we're continuing to strive and grow. We have a great view of our system, and as a system, we're always trying to evolve and trying to change. I can't even imagine what we'll look like in 5 years, given that we've now begun to use technology to assist us in having more communication, more relevant meetings. When we used to have 3 or 4 meetings a year where we'd have many people gather, now we're able to have 10, 20, 30 meetings as needed with people all across the state to voice their opinions, to hear what their thoughts are, to hear their stories. How can we use that as a platform or a diving board into the next unknown? I think it's going to be a tremendous several years as we grow. I really do hope that our membership increases, as many others have stated, not just because we need the numbers, but because we're going to hear more voices and we're going to have that much more impact. We don't need to just show up when we support or oppose bills. We need to actually be there as they're developing ideas and how to make some meaningful decisions at the state level so that we can actually implement them and we don't just kind of take it. So I really do look forward to where we move, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
And Barbara.
Yeah, Daniel, I think you hit the nail right on the head. You were spot on. I think 5 years from now, ACSA is going to continue to have an unapologetic, influential voice in Sacramento advocating on what's best for kids. We saw that this year. I see myself keeping the collegiality with ACSA GR staff and building relationships with district, region, and county leaders and keeping the lines of communication open. You know, one great example about, and Gina brought up increasing membership, and I totally agree with you. I see in 5 years, our membership numbers increasing. I think one of the ways that we can do that, and we've already started, is by including our school board members in more of our functions, inviting them to our conferences, inviting them to an academy, inviting them in all of our PD. And this will allow our school board members to support ACSA and support the work that we do every day on behalf of our students. And it makes it worthwhile, and they see the value and makes it relevant. And so with that being said, if our school boards really support ACSA, and maybe our dues will be paid for by ACSA, our membership will exponentially increase. And then finally, we've seen the county the county offices of education coalition groups that have been come together, partnering with CTA, CSBA, ACSA, the superintendents, members of ACSA, and other organizations coming together to do that collegial letter writing, one voice campaigns. And we saw that with the passage of AB 86, and it was our members who all came together. So it's working together with other organizations within, the next 5 years. And I see us not just being ACSA, specifically, I see us being a team who really are working to advocate together with one voice. And we are the experts, right? We are the ones that our legislators are going to come to for the answers, because they trust us, because what we say works. I think one last example I heard someone tell me one time was, all of these barriers and obstacles that prevented us from moving forward to reopen our schools, all of the plans that we had to write, the IIPP plans, the COVID operational plans to reopening, the OSHA plan, all of these obstacles that got in the way. I heard someone tell me that they were going to tell some legislators to just get out of our way. Let us do our jobs. Let us get our schools open. We know what we know what we need and to be able to do to make this happen in a safe manner for all of our students. So I think it's building that trust, building the relationship of trust and respect, and having that one voice for all of our students. Thank you.
And we do have one question that has come in, and we want to thank all of our viewers for participating. We will get to this one question, and then we will move to our closing statements. Joseph Prosapio asked the question. It appears, thankfully, we are moving away from the everyone will go to college push. What role do you see legislation play in supporting all levels of K-12 and or CTE? Thank you. We will go and continue in the order of which we have been going. So, Jonathon, I will give you an opportunity for 2 minutes to respond.
Thank you, Joseph, for the question, and thank you for advocating for technical education and careers. I think we have to partner with our agencies that are all around us in our districts and tap into those folks so that they can be in the forefront with us to support our students. Because like I said earlier, it's about choices. I think our students need to have that opportunity, because the one thing we can guarantee, all of our kids are going to go to work someday, and some can go to work while they're in school or right after school. It's not just at a 4-year or 2-year university. I think seeing the different opportunities presented to them will only allow our students to see why they have to work so hard in school, why writing is so important, and reading critically, and listening and coming up with critical thinking opportunities. So I think we partner with our area local businesses and agencies and technology and bring them onto our campuses and expose them. And then on Ledge Action Day, let's expose this opportunity for our students. We need partnerships, and we need assembly bills and legislation that will allow CTE courses to be fully funded and not an afterthought, not an elective program, but why not a pathway and a pathway to all of the wonderful riches that we have in front of us.
Daniel, your response.
Yes, thank you. I think of, I have a really big family. It's kind of an ongoing joke with friends of mine, but I have a cousin for every story. And I think of one of my cousins who, by the time he was 15 or 16, he realized, although academically he was able to keep up with classes and coursework and maintain grades, he didn't need or want the academic certificates and all that. What he wanted was to get to work. He was able to quickly go through the trainings that he needed to outside of school, got his GED, and then he was able to, before he was 19, had his own shop for auto body. He was able to have a tow truck company within a year later. I think had we as a system not allowed for him to have that choice, which I think is a term Jonathon brought up, he would not have had that avenue. The only thing I wish that our system would have been able to do is partner with some of the agencies, some of the community partners that are out there to create internship opportunities so that students are not doing something outside of our system or an exception, but instead it's built into our system to plan for our students to have career and technology opportunities ahead of them that they strive for, but also allowing for them to still be eligible if they decide at some point to change their minds, still to be able to go into college and careers that need some college academics and education, because we need to make sure that our students are able to participate in our overall communities. And I think that's important. Thank you.
Barbara.
Yes, thank you. I love this question. I just love it. You know why? Because it's all about adult ed and our partnerships with community colleges. You know, I think that CTE does play a great part. Not everybody's going to a four-year university, and yes, we do need to continue to work with our partners, workforce development, the construction trades, the medical trades, to bring them to our schools, to have dual enrollment for our high school students in our community colleges, and have that conversation and the dialogue, but also to work for funding, to work with the Department of Finance in funneling that money through the Chancellor's office to distribute to LEAs, right? To distribute back to adult ed so that we can continue our programs also in short-term certificate-based classes and CTE classes. We've had culinary classes in the adult school. We've had our construction trades classes in adult school. We've had our medical phlebotomy. We offer all of that through adult ed. So it's a streamline right from high school. They can transfer on through our short-term certificate-based classes, and then we hold their hand to continue on to college for further training. I can tell you firsthand, my son went through our construction trades program straight out of high school, and now he's almost finished becoming a journeyman plumber. And my daughter went through the adult school early childhood development program, got her short-term ECE units, is now a preschool teacher up in Milpitas, where Jonathon is. So I completely support this. I completely want to make sure that we continue to advocate for funding to the LEAs, to districts, aside from the Chancellor's office, so that we can build and promote our CTE programs for our students and adults. Thank you.
And Gina, your response.
You know, as the third generation of educators in my family, I'm so proud to share that my father, Dr. Tom Teagle, who's been in education about 40 years now, he built 5 adult schools down in South San Diego County. And the emphasis of each of those adult schools was CTE. And it was difficult when I looked at the Great Recession and I realized, oh my goodness, the economy is crashing nationally and statewide. And we entered as a state of California into this dramatic reform of revenue limits and a transition to the local control funding formula. The LCFF has so many great things embedded within it. However, one of the tragedies of the LCFF is actually the demise and degradation of our CTE programs statewide. And we know for a fact that our students need access to CTE to not only be successful in life, but just to have a broad broad opportunity of what they want to become when they grow up, what their dreams are when they grow up. So, I feel a great passion towards this particular topic. I'm proud of my father's amazing efforts and work and the thousands of students that he helped lead into great careers through CTE. And I hope and will boldly advocate for the restoration of CTE funding. And as Jonathon talked about, building pathways into our schools for CTE, and as Daniel talked about, really integrating CTE into the current curriculum of our schools. Thank you.
And folks, we are coming up on closing statements right now as we move towards the top of the hour. So we will go ahead and give 2 minutes of maximum closing statements for our 4 candidates. Daniel Hernandez, you are first.
Well, thank you again. It has been my honor today to be able to share some of my thoughts with you. I am very much in tune with legislative action days with my previous history. One of my favorite opportunities working around and in the Capitol was being able to take a group of high school students to first explain to them that no, it's not we're not at the Capitol, we're actually at the state Capitol, that we're learning about what happens in the actual committees. We went through a mock legislative committee, thanks to the help of the California Latino Capital Association, which is the staffers in the building, and all the different people and the moving pieces that had to combine to be able to make this opportunity happen. It was a tremendous opportunity, and it even back then, it opened up my eyes to how important this work is and continues to be. And luckily, being in Sacramento, I've had the opportunity to participate in a few different events where I've come across legislators, mainly those in this area, but a few times with those from outside. And each time I take it as my personal responsibility to communicate with them what I do. And many times they're interested. And I've done it more and more as a member of ACSA. And luckily, people have begun to hear the name ACSA and associate myself with that just as a member. And I'd really love to be able to move into that position where it is part of my choice and, hopefully with the will of the members here, the opportunity to continue that work because I think it's something that I can continue to do. It's vital. It's important. The government relations staff is tremendous. They're great. They respond to questions when I've asked simple things just for my own edification. And I'm really looking forward to what we do as a group, and I'd be happy to represent ACSA. Thank you.
And Barbara.
Yeah, thank you. It is an honor. It's been an honor for me to serve ACSA in all of the positions that I've served since 2002. And out of all of those positions that I've held, my advocacy piece, it's my ganas, it's where I am, it's where I believe, and it's my true voice. It's my truth to speak on behalf of 6.1 million students and children and adults. So our fight continues beyond Legislative Action Day, and it continues beyond Sacramento, stretching throughout all 19 regions that ACSA represents. We have to extend our efforts through grassroots advocacy, identifying our next legislators and bringing them aboard our platform earlier and often, because as you know, we get younger and younger legislators who really need to be up to date on what's happening on the forefront in education. We need them to see our day-to-day reality. We need them to hear our stories firsthand. And by doing this, we educate them and advocate on behalf of the 6.1 students in our great 6.1 million students in our great state. So my experience through ACSA spans decades. It's been a pleasure for me to serve. Every day when I have the ACSA experience, it's like I see ACSA as my huge vending machine. What do I feel like today? Do I need something? Do I need professional development? ACSA has it. What kind of conference do I have? Do I need? There's the Women in Leadership Conference. There's the Equity Conference. There's the Summit. There's something. Every time I feel like I need a shot in the arm, I get it from ACSA. And truly, with your support, with everybody's support and vote, I think any one of these candidates is going to do a fantastic job So, thanks again for allowing me to serve and represent ACSA. Whether it be in this position, I'm going to be a part of ACSA in some way. So thank you very much.
Gina.
It is such a blessing and an honor to be here today alongside Jonathon, Daniel, and Barbara, and united we stand. Now's the time that our leadership matters the most amidst the COVID pandemic as we unite to protect our students, our communities, and our education system. Together, we serve as heroic humanitarian leaders during this difficult time to restore life's equilibrium and to emerge stronger as a peaceful nation and as a more innovative and technologically advanced educational system. During this unprecedented time, ACSA is serving a pivotal role in leading our state's education system through this pandemic. And as a biracial superintendent who has served in education for 30 years, it's wonderful to spend my life supporting thousands of students as a former deputy superintendent, assistant superintendent of business, principal teacher, and classified academic mentor. I'm deeply grateful and humbled to serve alongside extraordinary educational leaders within ACSA for the last 20 years. And it's been a privilege to serve in ACSA leadership roles at the region, state, and federal levels as a former charter president, region cabinet member, president of the State Business Services Council, and as the current chair of the State Legislative Policy Committee. I'm dedicated to serving our members as a courageous leader in pursuit of ACSA's mission, and I'm committed to boldly advocating for student success through our legislative platform. In closing, I thank you for considering me, Gina Potter, not the mother of Harry Potter, but truly the mother of Kainoa and Tatiana Potter. And I would love to serve our ACSA members as the next state vice president of legislative action. Thank you, Naj.
And Jonathon, your final comments.
Thank you. I want to first thank our governmental relations team, Edgar Sasueta, Laura Preston, Yvonne Carrillo, Dinah Vu, and then Jason Henderson. But probably most importantly is the people behind the scene, our ACSA support staff, which is led there in that department with Suzanne Caffrey. Shout out to Suzanne. It's always been about students, right? And our service leadership. Each of us that are running for this office bring a great amount of past experiences to this chosen profession. And look at us now. We have more diversity in leadership than ever before. We lift leaders of varying ethnicities, gender, and sexual orientation. And this has only enhanced our leadership and our unique perspectives and insights. So together, we are all going to rise to represent those 6 million students in everything we do. And we should resemble and understand those that we serve. I've worked in small rural districts with large amount of language learners and economically challenged, as well as now probably the most diversified county in the state of California, if not the nation. So leadership does matter. Being in ACSA since 1998, serving in both the charter, region, and state levels, it's just been amazing. And what I think I'm most proud of is encouraging and lifting others to serve and join this great organization. I will continue to want to serve by listening to our leaders from across the state to help with their voice, to get our student voices into our legislative offices and at the state capitol. And we will rise together and close that opportunity gap forever. It is our moral imperative. And this is why I'm running for Vice President of Leg Action. So I want to thank Region 8, Santa Clara County, for all of your support over the years. Region 3 and 2 have been there for me throughout my career. Daniel, Barbara, Gina, you cannot go wrong with any of us. These are amazing people. They're friends, and they're a part of the ACSA family. So we are truly in this together. And again, thank you, Naj and Michael, for all your help today.
Told you, folks, we were going to hit right before 11 o'clock. Let me go ahead and introduce you one final time. Jonathon Brunson, Assistant Superintendent, Human Relations from Milpitas Unified School District. Daniel Hernandez, Principal from Ethel Phillips Elementary School in the Sacramento City Unified School District. Barbara Martinez, Principal and Director from the Pacific Grove Unified School District. And Gina Potter, Superintendent from San Ysidro School District. All 4 candidates for State Vice President for Legislative Action. To the 4 of you, thank you so much for being with us today. And for our folks watching, thank you so much for being with us. Just so you know, coming up in May, the ACSA Leadership Assembly will be casting their votes for these candidates to fill that State Vice President for Legislative Action position. We, of course, will have coverage for you in EdCal and on our social media accounts as well. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us. Have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.